With his wife's statement, the devastating truth about Pastor Franklin Graham's family life has finally surfaced after much conjecture. Millions have been inspired by the Grahams, who exemplify faith and fortitude. But will they be put to the test by this challenge? Let's examine the specifics and discover what she disclosed. The birth of Franklin Graham. On July 14, 1952, Franklin Graham was born in Asheville, North Carolina. He was the fourth of Billy Graham and Ruth Bell Graham's 5 children. The family resided in a log cabin amid the peaceful, unspoiled Appalachian Mountains. The well-known evangelist, Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham, didn't always carry on his father's legacy. When he was young, he had a difficult and rebellious time. Unlike his father, Franklin had no desire to become a preacher or be a well-known spiritual figure. He went so far as to call himself a dirty kid, and he didn't always act like the son of a renowned preacher. Sharing their father with the world. For Franklin, having such a famous father made growing up difficult. Billy Graham often traveled for preaching missions, sometimes spending extended periods away from home. He was not only a preacher, he was a well-known individual who addressed sizable audiences all over the globe and even counseled U.S. presidents. As a result, Franklin and his siblings had to share their father with the world, which sometimes made family life challenging. Big shoes to fill. Franklin previously said he was concerned that if he became a preacher, people would continuously compare him to his father. He was deterred from immediately pursuing a spiritual path by the fear of being criticized or seen as inadequate as Billy Graham's son. Instead, Franklin went it alone for years, often making decisions that his father and family disagreed with. Franklin enjoyed outdoor pursuits like hunting and fishing from an early age because of his adventurous surroundings. Many said he inherited his wicked side and vitality from his mother, Ruth. Playful spirit. Ruth, his mother, had a reputation for being fun and unafraid to use inventive methods to discipline her kids. According to a tale Franklin recalled, his mother attempted to get him up early for school. Franklin closed his door to keep her from waking him up in the morning. Ruth responded by starting to slide firecrackers under his door to make sure he woke up in time. It turned into a game between them, demonstrating how his personality was shaped by his mother's inventiveness and sense of humor. The rebel. Franklin's playful nature evolved into defiance as he got older. He rebelled against norms and expectations throughout his adolescence and adulthood. He began living what he subsequently referred to as the fast life, which included drinking, smoking, and fighting. He even experimented with marijuana, which was astonishing for a pastor's kid. What would have motivated him to take this course? Attempts of reformation. Given his father's well-known position as a preacher, his actions alarmed his family. In the hopes that it would help him concentrate and calm down, Franklin was sent to Stony Brook, a reputable Christian boarding school on Long Island, New York. Nevertheless, he found it challenging to adapt to the norms and discipline of the institution and ultimately left. His problems didn't stop there, however. Problem with the authorities. He went to Laterno College in Longview, Texas after leaving Stony Brook, but he didn't stay there for long either. At the time, Franklin was dismissed for violating a serious regulation, keeping a female student out beyond curfew. He struggled to fit in at these rigid institutions because of his disobedient decisions and disobedience of authority, and he kept separating himself from the expectations that came with being Billy Graham's son. Franklin found it challenging to fit in, even with the support and influence of his family. His early years were filled with dangerous choices and actions that may have let his family down. The talk. In 1974, Franklin Graham received his associate's degree from what is now Montreat Anderson College. He had a life-changing event the same year. He claims to have had a new birth, a significant transformation in himself that gave him a new direction and a deeper faith. In 1974, it all started on a trip to Switzerland. Billy Graham, his father, used this time to have a serious conversation with him concerning the course of his life. Billy saw his kid was having difficulties and had to make important decisions for his future. He said, looking Franklin square in the eye, that he and Franklin's mother felt a fight over Franklin's life's course and that he would have to make a decision. Franklin was tremendously affected by these statements. He could not forget them, and they caused him to reflect on the direction of his life. The reminding words. Franklin often brought a bottle of scotch with him when he traveled around Europe at the time. He wasn't very disciplined or thought-provoking, and it took him a while to change. But even as he faded, his father's words continued to resonate in his memory. Understanding the Word. Then one night, a significant event occurred. Franklin had time to reflect when he was alone at a Jerusalem hotel. At 22, he remained in his room rather than going to a pub like usual. He grabbed a Bible and began reading, starting with a New Testament book that describes the life and teachings of Jesus, the Gospel of John. He reached chapter 3, where Jesus informed Nicodemus that he must be born again to join God's kingdom. Acceptance and comfort. This was more than just a Nicodemus tale to Franklin. For the first time, he realized that he was also the recipient of this communication. He realized that in order to undergo a fresh start and firmly adhere to his beliefs, Franklin Graham needed to be born again. In his 1995 book, Rebel with a Cause, Finally Comfortable Being Graham, he subsequently detailed this profound epiphany. Rebellion to leader. Franklin's life started to change after that night. He walked away from the rebellious route and toward a new life more in line with his father's heritage and beliefs. Franklin's path to becoming a preacher and leader began with this event, but it all started with a Bible, a lonely night in a hotel room, and a need for something more profound in his life. Obtaining the bachelor's degree. 1978, Franklin Graham received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Appalachian State University. This was a huge achievement for him, but at the same time, he had another crucial event that would influence the rest of his life. The Samaritan's Purse. Franklin met Bob Pierce, the creator of Samaritan's Purse, a Christian charity that aids those in need worldwide, while he was in his early 20s. Franklin accepted Pierce's invitation to go to Asia for a 6-week missionary journey. This voyage would alter Franklin's life. Finding his purpose. While on this missionary journey, Franklin witnessed the suffering endured by individuals in some of the world's poorest regions. He saw populations hit by natural calamities, starvation, illness, poverty, and conflict. These encounters profoundly affected him, and Franklin started to sense that helping individuals in need was his mission and calling. President of Samaritan's Purse. Franklin became a member of Samaritan's Purse's board in 1978. Bob Pierce died only a year later. After Pierce's death, Franklin was chosen as Samaritan Purse's president. Though this was a significant responsibility, Franklin was prepared to take charge. Since then, he has kept the organization growing and broadening its scope to assist those in need worldwide. Letting support. Samaritan's Purse has been providing aid to those in need under Franklin's direction for 45 years. The group has reacted to several significant emergencies, including disease epidemics, natural catastrophes, and conflicts. For instance, Samaritan's Purse has helped those impacted by the current crisis in Ukraine, the Ebola epidemic in West Africa, the war in Israel and Gaza, and many natural catastrophes, including earthquakes, storms, and wildfires. Ordained and the authority to preach. Franklin's efforts have touched millions of lives, providing food, housing, medical assistance, and hope to those experiencing very trying circumstances. Franklin Graham has devoted his life to helping others, particularly those in the most challenging and hopeless circumstances, via his work with Samaritan's Purse. The Grace Community Church in Tempe, Arizona, formally ordained Franklin Graham and granted him the right to preach in 1982. This church is non-denominational. It adheres to Christian doctrine without being affiliated with any denomination. Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. For Franklin, becoming ordained was a significant milestone. It started his preaching career and provided the groundwork for him to begin his ministry. Franklin had his first evangelistic presentation in 1989. It was a pivotal moment since it was his first outreach to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, the group his father founded. Franklin has since planned and directed hundreds of such gatherings all around the globe. These assemblies, sometimes called crusades or festivals, promote the gospel of hope and trust in Jesus Christ to people throughout several nations. The role of the vice president. Franklin's influence in his father's group expanded as he became more active. He was named the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association's vice president in 1995. It was more difficult for his father, Billy Graham, to continue running the organization alone at that time since he was in his early 80s and had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This sickness brought up the topic of who would take over the ministry when Billy was unable to do so. Earning people's trust. Given his turbulent upbringing, many initially questioned if Franklin was the best candidate for the position and whether he could succeed his father. However, when Franklin showed his commitment and aptitude, he won the respect and confidence of many. CEO of Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Franklin was formally appointed the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association's Chief Executive Officer in 2000. As the prominent leader of his father's ministry, he was now in charge of continuing Billy Graham's legacy of spreading the Christian word around the globe. Franklin took on this position with a clear goal and has carried on his father's work. Author Franklin Graham. Franklin is a renowned novelist in addition to his career as a preacher. His views and experiences are reflected in a number of his works. His most well-known works include Rebel with a Cause, Finally Comfortable Being Graham, 1995, an autobiography in which he recounts his own life, including his hardships and how he came to embrace his faith. Operation Christmas Child, A Story of Simple Gifts, 2013, which tells the story of the gift-giving project he leads for children in need. And The Name, 2002, which explores the significance and power of Jesus' name. The Constant Support. Jane Austen Cunningham Graham, Franklin Graham's wife, has been a driving force behind his success and has always been there for him. As Franklin has taken on major duties in his ministry, Jane has been a modest but crucial part of his life and work, offering him stability and support. Franklin and Jane. The narrative of Franklin and Jane started in 1974, the year of their marriage. Growing up in Smithfield, North Carolina, Jane spent a summer at the Graham's family home in Montreat, a little town in the Appalachian Mountains. During her stay, she got to know Franklin and his family. Their friendship started when Franklin volunteered to take Jane to church one Sunday. Jane also started to know the family better after meeting Ruth Bell Graham, Franklin's mother. Offspring. Their same beliefs and principles enabled Franklin and Jane to form a solid and enduring connection as their relationship progressed. William Franklin Graham IV, Roy Austin Graham, Edward B. Graham, and Jane Austen Graham Lynch, also called Sissy, were the 4 children they raised together. The family has resided in the sleepy mountain town of Boone, North Carolina, and still does. Away from the limelight. Franklin and Jane have been able to concentrate on family life since their Boone house has given them a tranquil setting away from the limelight. Franklin is a well-known public figure as the head of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse, while Jane has mostly avoided the spotlight. Her top priorities are raising their kids and providing them with a secure, loving home. Pillar of Faith. Since Franklin often travels for business, Jane has played a vital role in the household. She has ensured that their kids have strong morals and a strong religious bond. Although her efforts are more covert, Jane is also quite active in the Samaritan's Purse community. She is enthusiastic about supporting the organization's employees, especially those whose spouses must travel regularly for business. The constant support and encouragement. Jane uses her experience to help and inspire people in similar circumstances, since she knows how difficult it can be to always have a loved one on the road. Even if they are separated by distance, staff members and their families feel valued and connected. Jane has supported their family and provided constant encouragement throughout Franklin's vocation's highs and lows. Their lives and the larger Samaritan's Purse community have significantly benefited from her little but essential contribution. Controversial opinions. Renowned Christian leader Franklin Graham is also renowned for his divisive views, which have generated both admiration and condemnation throughout his career. His political beliefs, especially his outspoken support for former U.S. President Donald Trump, have been a major cause of controversy. This backing has resulted in tensions with some Christian groups and leaders. Supporting the leaders. One such case was the publication of an editorial attacking Trump by Christianity Today, a magazine started by Franklin's father, Billy Graham. According to the editorial, Trump has a grossly immoral character and ought not to hold public office. This critique greatly disturbed Franklin Graham, who believed it was unworthy of a journal bearing his father's name to disparage a leader he backed. Disclosing his father's ideologies. Franklin responded by defending Trump on social media and expressing his dissatisfaction with Christianity Today. He told his fans that while his father had never made his vote in the 2016 election public, he thought it necessary to make it clear that his father had backed Trump, believed in him, and cast his ballot for him. This occurrence highlighted Franklin's strong political position and the rifts it caused within the Christian community. Mixed reactions. The public has responded differently to Franklin Graham's remarks and deeds. Some see it as a continuation of his father's heritage and value his solid political position and support for Donald Trump. Others, on the other hand, contend that his political activity is unsuitable for a religious leader and that it might cause division among the Christian community and divert attention from Christianity's central message. Family disputes. One unexpected outcome was the snarky remark by Aram Shivian, the grandson of renowned preacher Billy Graham, in response to his Uncle Franklin's article. He recounted a special day in 2016 when his grandpa, Billy Graham, cast his ballot for the first time in a year despite having hydrocephalus and Parkinson's disease, leaving a lasting impression on the family. Aram's remark cast doubt on Franklin's claims about their grandfather's political participation, especially his voting inclinations. The Twitter feud. This Twitter interaction, in which a reader asked Franklin whether his nephew accused him of lying, exposed a serious rift within the Graham family. This episode indicates a broader division within the evangelical community that has been increasingly noticeable in recent years, especially concerning prominent figures, influence, and political activity. Aram Shivian and Jerusha Duford. More recently, Aram Shivian and his sister Jerusha Duford have repeatedly condemned their uncle Franklin Graham, especially about his backing of Donald Trump. Both siblings have expressed their opinions in various literature, and Jerusha is renowned for being vocal. Their viewpoint strongly relates to their grandfather's legacy and family history, since their mother, Anne Graham Lotz, is Billy Graham's eldest daughter. Sharing their grandfather's ministry. Aram and Jerusha have authored books on their grandpa, Billy Graham, and his worldwide ministry, which started in the stunning North Carolina mountains close to Asheville. They often underline Billy Graham's original message and principles in their writings to provide an alternative view of his legacy to the one Franklin favored. Their criticisms center on how crucial it is to uphold the fundamental Christian values that their grandpa instilled in them, particularly concerning politics and public life. Concerns related to political involvement. Concerns over Franklin Graham's political activity have gained a lot of support from his detractors, particularly those in his own family. This family argument reflects broader tensions within the evangelical community over its future and the ideals that should define it, and it goes beyond simple disagreements. The dispute highlights a larger conflict about the proper role of Christianity in politics, especially in the wake of Donald Trump's election. Grandfather's original message. A generational and ideological split is highlighted by the involvement of Franklin's family members, including his niece and nephew. According to Aram and Jerusha, and others who hold similar views, their grandfather's initial teachings on religion and the Christian life were not intended to be so strongly linked to political movements, especially those connected to Trump. They believe that rather than party politics, Billy Graham's legacy is rooted in the message of hope and redemption via Jesus Christ. Debate in evangelical circles. This division within the Graham family reflects the larger argument in evangelical circles on how the faith should address political matters. The family conflict has raised these issues, which has exposed the profound rifts that exist both inside the Graham family and the larger evangelical community. Health issues. Franklin Graham had severe health issues in 2021 after receiving a diagnosis of constrictive pericarditis, a disorder that results in inflammation and rigidity of the membrane around the heart. Breathing difficulties and chest discomfort are indications of this illness, which may impair the heart's capacity to work correctly. The prognosis took many aback, and his disciples, as well as the larger Christian community, were profoundly impacted by the news. The heart surgery. To treat the issue, Franklin had heart surgery in November of that year. Prayers and support poured in from around the globe when his wife, Jane, and their family broke the news to the public. An essential part of his healing was the operation. Since then, Franklin has prioritized his health while carrying out his leadership and ministry responsibilities with the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse. Despite being very personal and challenging, his health issue brought many people closer to him in support. It served as a reminder that life is fragile, even for well-known individuals. The future of BGEA. Franklin Graham, 72, has led the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, for more than 20 years. Within the Graham family, there is a noticeable shift toward training the next generation of leaders while he oversees the organization's worldwide mission. Will Graham. Will Graham, Franklin's eldest son, is one of the key players in this leadership change. Will is a vital member of the BGEA and resides in Swannanoa, North Carolina, which is close to Asheville. He holds the position of the organization's vice chairman. He oversees the Billy Graham Training Center at The Cove, which provides training for people in ministry and Christianity. Passing the mantle. His duties have increased as Will is ready to assume the BGEA's leadership position. Will is in a solid position to take over as leader of the organization if Franklin passes away, continuing the tradition of his father and grandfather, Billy Graham. His goal of continuing to share the gospel and preparing the next generation of Christian leaders includes his work at The Cove. Bearing the resemblance. Will Graham's looks, demeanor, and preaching style are similar to those of his grandpa, Billy Graham. He shares his father, Franklin's, strong commitment to evangelization. Will travels widely to spread his message to people all over the globe and maintains a hectic preaching schedule. A legacy to follow. Will has a ministerial ordination. He was a pastor at a church in Raleigh, North Carolina for 6 years before assuming his present leadership position. His pastor background has allowed him to relate to individuals personally, comprehend their needs, and provide direction for their spiritual development. The transition. For the Graham family and the institutions they oversee, passing the torch to the next generation of leaders is crucial. Will's role in the ministry is even more critical as Franklin deals with health issues. His commitment guarantees that the Graham family's heritage endures, and under his direction, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association's BGEA mission will continue for many years.